Hi everyone, this is Krista from Colorado Custom Lures. Hope everyone's having a good night tonight. This is Sunday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning. I typically work kind of late, so tonight really late because I want to get these baits cleared that I worked on in the live show last night. I just got them all finished up, so I'm just gonna give you guys a little sneak peek on my coating process. I get a lot of questions about how I coat my baits, and so I thought I'd show you. So this is the epoxy I use. It's art resin, 2-part epoxy, and it is yellowing resistant and UV protective, and it does not have any fumes. So I use it for several different reasons. It protects the color of the bait when you have it in the sun, which obviously if you're fishing, your baits are going to be in the sun, so you'll have that protection. And then it also doesn't have any fumes, so I can do it in my house, and it's a good epoxy. It holds up well, it coats nice, and it also won't yellow. So one thing you have to make sure when you're mixing 2-part epoxy is not to mix the same. This is the hardener. You don't want to put, I've done this before where I put 2 parts hardener and 0 parts resin, and you end up with a lot of mess, and you have to start over with the epoxy process. So I'm just gonna clean this off so that I get a fully even amount of epoxy. You have to mix this stuff really accurately. If you are off more than just a tiny bit, you will not get the proper hardening of the epoxy. So you have to be accurate. So you have to measure this stuff. So this is just a teaspoon. So I'm just filling it most of the way. And then I gotta clean this off. Trying not, you wanna make sure you don't touch, you wanna make sure you don't wipe the neck of your bottle with the same part of a paper towel that you wipe the other bottle with, because then what you'll end up is with your bottle lid glued to the bottle. So you just want to make sure you don't mix them together when you're cleaning up. So I'm just gonna ditch, well here, let me wipe off this first, and then I'll ditch this. So I just need to clean this off so I can put it away. So I just make sure I wipe this off really well. I have a whole set of measuring spoons. I just keep a metal set of measuring spoons in my storage bin in case, like, for whatever reason, if I'm just doing a smaller custom order or something and I'm coating them, I can just do a smaller amount, but it just needs to be mixed equally, whatever amount you do use. So epoxy is yucky, it's messy. Some people use KBS to dip, but you have to do that outside or in a garage or in a very well ventilated area because the fumes are really bad. So I don't like fumes much, and I have little kids, so I don't, this just works out perfect for what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this. I try to keep my work area as clean as I can. It's kind of tough during my live feed. If you've tuned in for my live feed, and if you haven't, you should. It's 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Fridays. And if I'm not going to be there, then I'll post on my Facebook page that I'm not going to be able to be there. But for the most part, we should be able to, unless in the summer we're gone for tournaments or something like that. So I'm going to try, and I'm going to mix this up. And then I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek of the process, and then I'm not going to show you all 14 baits I'm coating, but I'll give you a sneak peek of kind of how I do it. So you want to make sure you mix this up really well for a few minutes before you start spreading it. And then you have about 35 to 40 minutes workability time before this starts to really harden up. And what I'm going to do with this one at the end is I'm going to add some purple glitter, and I'm going to coat these baits that I did for a customer as a custom order. I'm going to add some extra ultrafine purple glitter. It's just a purple and candy apple green craw that was requested by a customer, and I made a few different variations of that. So you might find some of those in the store if you're looking at this video right after I made the video. So All right, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this brush end off. So I'm just using the same brush. It's just a disposable brush from wherever, Walmart, Target. You can get them at any craft store, they're cheap. So this is, so I'll start off with one of my perch. So I did this perch pattern last night on our live show. It turned out really nice textured stripe with a black and an orange belly. So basically you just paint it on. So you want to just make sure you get it nicely covered, and try to avoid the eyelets so that you don't clog them up too much. Inevitably you're going to clog up eyelets to some degree because you can't control. I mean, I rotate my baits on a rotating drying rack, which you kind of have to do with epoxy. I know people who get away with not doing it somehow, but I still don't think I understand how they're doing it. And so you just want to make sure you try and stay away from the eyelets as much as possible and just not goop them up. If they do get gooped up, you can always clean them out with a Dremel tool or an X-Acto knife. You just have to be careful you don't scratch the rest of the bait when you're doing it. But that always is going to happen with some of them. So I do the best I can to make it look nice and clean, even if I do have to clean them out. So I'm avoiding the bill. I do not epoxy my bills. Some people do. I don't really see the point. There may be a point. I just don't know what it is. So if they're painted bills, obviously, like wiggle warts and stuff, then you have to, but there's really no reason that I see to epoxy coat them. So these will need 2 coats of epoxy. I do 2 coats for extra durability on all my baits. I just don't really think that the protection is adequate with 1 coat of this particular epoxy. I haven't used other types of epoxy, so I can't say that's true of other types of epoxy, but we have a lot of rocks in Colorado, so if you don't want your bait chewed up, you need some extra coats. So this is nice and well coated. Just kind of want to make sure you get every spot. This is self-leveling, so what that just means is it'll spread out evenly throughout around the bait, but you do need to make sure you at least touch the whole bait with some. So this is what it looks like, and then I'll go ahead and hang it on my drying rack. So I'll try and give you guys a shot of what my drying rack looks like. I'm just gonna carry you over here for a minute. So this is my drying rack. I am in the process of getting a new one. This is pretty archaic, but I just have spring-loaded clips, and then this is just a disco ball motor that I bought on eBay and attached a plate to it and some clips. So it just rotates. So this needs to rotate for, I don't know, several hours. I usually just do it overnight, and then I'll recoat. And it doesn't have to be fully dry to recoat. It just has to be like set well enough that it can be recoated without like totally like smashing the first coat. So in a sense, that's the process that I use to epoxy. So I've got to move on to 11 more. Check us out on our Facebook page at Colorado Custom Lures or coloradocustomlures.com to see what we have in stock, and find us live at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Friday nights. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for watching.